Hi guys, and welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We've got a little parallax section for you today with a button that's going to fade in. If I scroll down this page, you will see that little dark section coming in with a space background. It's parallax, and as we scroll up the page, the button's going to fade in. When we get to about halfway, it's fully visible, and as we scroll on up the page, it's going to disappear back out again. And that's a nice little feature. If we go back down, it'll pop back in again. That's going to get people's eyeballs on it pretty quickly when that happens, which is what you want with a call to action. This is really easy to do. We're not using any coding for this today, just the inbuilt features of the Divi theme itself. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the visual builder. And once enabled, I'm going to roll down to where I want to work. I'm just going to delete this section we've got here. Little blue tab for a section, green tab for a row, dark tab for a module. I'm going to delete the blue one and we'll start from scratch. Okay, well let's add a new section, a little blue button there. I'm going to make mine a regular section. Inside, I'm going to put a single column. Inside the column, I'm going to put a little button right there. Divi comes as standard with all these modules, plenty enough to build just about any kind of site. If you've got WooCommerce installed on your site, it'll give you an extra dozen or so to display your products also. Okay, let's grab the button. And there's my button. Now if you're wondering why mine's red and not the default color, that's just the way I've got it set up in the customizer. But of course we can go into the design settings here and design it any way you wish. Put in what you want your button to say here. Down below is where you put the link for your button. Simply put your link in there. And always best practice, if you're linking to your own site, another page on your own site, leave it in the same window. If you're linking off-site to somebody else's site, open it in a new tab so yours stays open. Okay, that's great. Well, we've got our little button there. I'll just show you where to design it. I'm not going to spend too much designing. That's entirely up to you. But if you go over to the design tab, we've got alignment here. You can align it left, center, right, obviously. You can decorate your text. Let me just pop that back into the middle. Okay, if we go down to button, here we can set the custom styles. Just flip that little switch on. Button text size right there. Text color, I'm going to leave mine as it is. Button background, there's why mine is red. Let's just change it to perhaps purple. And then set a hover color. Let's have a different color on hover. Let's make it red on hover perhaps. And common to most Divi modules, if you hover up over the dark writing, you'll see some icons appear. Go to the one that you want to affect, which is our button background in this case. If there's an arrow there, we can set a hover state and a desktop state. Desktop's when your mouse is not on it. Hover is when your mouse is on it. So when we're hovering on it, let's make that red. And I'll do the same thing for the border. I'll get up the hover state. Regular state, we're going to have it purple. And hover state, I'm going to make that border red to fit in with the button. Fantastic. Now I've got a big radius on mine, 50 pixels, giving it round corners. Obviously, either delete that. If you don't want any corners, put in a 0. If you want slightly curved corners, put in a lower px value, pixels, and you get slightly rounded corners there. I'm happy for mine to have rounded ones though, so I can put in a high value, 50. That'll do that. And you can affect your button letter spacing, and as with all Divi themes, we've got a huge amount of fonts to work with here. There's literally hundreds of them. I've been working with Divi for 4 or 5 years at least. I've not gone through all of these. If you just hover over one, you'll see it change and show you an example of what that's going to look like. I'm going to leave mine on the default today. Okay, and of course down below you can change your icon or choose not to show it if you don't want to show it. Right, well I'm going to leave that just like it is. I'm happy with my button. We've got a link in there and it's the color we want, and we've given it a hover color also. So let's save this. Now we can go back into our section and create that little parallax effect. So the section, blue tab, going to go to background, which is on the content tab. I'm going to add an image. You've got color, gradient, image, or video. Add whatever image you want. I've got a little black field with some stars on it there. I'm going to add that one. And as you can see, it's behind our button there. And that's a nice little section on its own. But we want to give it some dynamics. So if we look just below the image here, we've got use parallax effect. If I switch that to on, this is true parallax, where that background is going to move, but it's going to move at a different rate from our foreground here. If I roll that up and down, hopefully you can see some slight movement there. See those stars moving slightly as we roll up. That's true parallax. And we've got another one called CSS parallax, which is actually fixed background. This image in the background stays where it is, and of course the foreground rolls up and down. This is much more dramatic than CSS parallax, but some people would argue this isn't parallax at all, but they're calling it parallax, so I'll stick with that. So I'm going to leave mine on that. That's pretty dramatic to me. I like the look of that. Okay, well, now we want our button to actually disappear when it's down here and only appear when it's sort of in the middle and towards the top of our screen. Then we're going to have it fade out when it gets way up the top there. So to do that, still in the button settings, so let's get out of our section here. I'm going to go into the actual button itself. You could have the section fade out if you wanted to, but that's not going to achieve the effect I want today. So I'm going into the button, little module. Going to go over to advanced. And if we scroll down, we're going to find scroll effects right here. Now I want to use a fade today. First one, we've got vertical motion, then horizontal motion, then we've got a fade. We've got a scale and a rotate and a blur. I'm just going to use the fade. Click on it, hit the little switch to enable it, and that brings up a bit of a scale right here. Here's the bottom of our viewport, which is the bottom of whatever screen you're looking at it on, and here's the top of our viewport. Okay, so at the moment it's saying 0 when it starts at the bottom, so if I roll that down a bit, you can see it's sort of fading out there. But I'm actually going to bring this up to say 30%, because I don't really want to see it at all until we get up to about 30%. And as you can see down there, or as you can't see, it's disappeared. So I'm just left clicking and dragging this slider up to 30%. Now it's disappeared. When I start rolling up, it's going to start fading in. It's going to be 100% when it gets to 50. When it gets up the top here, I want it to start fading out, so I'm going to drag this one down to about 70%, something like that. Obviously you fix yours how you want, but I want it to be invisible, so instead of 100% opacity is transparency or see-throughness if you will, I'm going to zip that back to 0 by putting a 0 in there. Just put the 0 in there, it'll put in the percent for you. So now right at the top it's going to disappear. As we scroll down, it's going to roll in, and it's going to disappear at the bottom there. That's okay. I think my 70% is a little too much to have it disappear, because I still want it to be in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag this up to maybe about, let's try it at 90. That might be too much. It's not bad, but what we can do is actually spread this out so it's 100% between maybe 50 and 70. Let's try that. There we go, it's fading out just at the top there. Play with it until it's the way that you want it, and it's fading out at the bottom there. Perfect, so we should be good to go. Let's save our changes, make sure it's going to work on the front end. Save the page changes and exit the Visual Builder. Okay, well let's roll on down. There's our little parallax section. If I roll it back down, there's no button. Fade up, that button's fading in. We can roll over it, it's going to change to our red. And if we continue rolling up the page, it's going to fade out and disappear at the top there. Nice little effect. As I say, that's going to get people's eyes on it pretty quick. If you're rolling up a page and that pops in like that, your eyes are going to naturally go to it, which is what you want with a call to action. So there you go, guys. There's a little simple parallax fade in button call to action. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie with System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.